Hey guys, today we're doing a car video. I had mentioned in my last exploration video where I was in Searchlight that I had picked something up kind of neat and kind of rare, and this is it. So it's a 1964 Checker Marathon Wagon. This is the A11 model, which means it's a civilian model. The A12 would have been the commercial taxicab model most people are familiar with. Found this car on Facebook Marketplace. It was listed in Barstow. So we took a drive from Arizona out to California to pick this thing up a couple months ago. And as you can see, a lot of patina, which I personally dig. But these cars are known to have rust issues. And as you can see, aside from the surface rust, there's really not any significant rot on the body for the most part. There are a couple of places. Some rot developing along the edge of the hood here. And then some up on the roof skin by these drip rails here. So that's really the worst of it. Which, like I said, for cars that are known for rust issues, it's not too bad. This car was originally out of Fort Worth, Texas. And you can see right there is what's left of the dealer emblem and also a little rot. That's okay. So Checker really didn't have an established dealer network. So not many cars were sold for the civilian market. Checker really did focus on making taxi cabs. They were sold all over the country, but they're most known in cities like New York and Chicago and a few others. So growing up back east, I remember going into New York City. There were still a handful of these cars left in taxi service. This would have been late 90s, mid-late 90s. But incredibly durable cars. They started making these in 1961, right around there. And they continued nearly unchanged up until 1982, when Checker ceased production of all of their line of cars. Checker itself was founded in 1922 by Morris Markin, originally based out of Chicago and later moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where all of these cars were built. Now, after 1982, Checker did stay in business, making body stampings for GM and other automotive companies, and finally shut their doors in 2010. So, a pretty good run for a small independent company that really just specialized in fleet vehicles. Neat thing about this wagon here is it has a fairly rare power window option for the rear. So you could run the window by putting a key in here, and you would rotate the key and it would bring the window up or down. I actually don't have any door keys for this car. I only have an ignition key, so I have not been able to test this window yet. Now, in 1964, total civilian production numbers for these A11 cars was 960, so that would include sedans, wagons. And this may very well be the last Checker wagon left that was made in 1964. So kind of neat. I can't confirm that 100%, but I have not been able to find another one. So I do have this molding, It fell off when we were loading in on the trailer, but not a big deal. Some body damage on this quarter panel here, and I was able to kind of stick my hand in between the wheel and the quarter panel and push some of it out. And a neat thing about these cars is these quarter panels bolt on and off. So worst case scenario, if I wanted to really try to fix this dent, I can theoretically just take the quarter panel off. So I'll show you under the hood here. Alright, so this particular one here has a Chevy Inline 6. From what I understand, 1964 was a transitional year. Checker used all different sorts of engines over the years. And the predecessor to the Chevy 6 here was the Continental 6. They used a flathead one, and then later on went to overhead valve. And from what I understand, 64 was a transitional year for powertrains. So this will either be a 230 cubic inch Chevy straight 6 or 250, depending on whether this engine is original or not. I'm not really quite sure if it is. It is an AC car, which is pretty neat. It is intact. We've got some mystery wiring here. I'm not quite sure what the story is with that. I really haven't dug much into this car yet, just because it's been so freaking hot out. But like I said, either a 230 or 250 straight 6, little single barrel Carter carburetor on there. It is a power brake car, single master cylinder, which I think is frozen. The brake pedal is stuck where it's at. This engine does turn over. I did stick a battery in here and twist a key and was able to get it to spin over. And there's the plate. Kind of neat. I like the design of the lettering and the little checker stripes underneath. It is attached to a 3-speed manual, 3-speed on the column, which I believe is a Borg-Warner unit from when I was able to find out. So, interior is mostly complete. I've got the front seat just sort of laying in here. When I bought the car, the seat was out of the car for whatever reason. But you can see here, here's your 3 pedals. Have a seat in here. So all the original gauges are still in the car. Mileage, I have no idea. I'm sure it's probably been rolled over. Very basic, simple arrangement for the gauges. But again, kind of neat with this checker graphic here on the speedometer. It has a 80s, 90s cassette player stuffed in there, which actually does work. There's no antenna on the car, but it comes on and gets some static coming through the speaker, so that's kind of neat. And then you can see there another checker emblem. The vinyl is, well, it's seen better days. Floor's got some pitting. I don't think it's rusted through in any spots, but like I said, I really haven't looked this car over too thoroughly yet. But from what I was able to tell when I crawled underneath it in Barstow, it looked pretty good. And kind of back up and see the emblem on the horn. Also pretty neat. This is supposed to have a horn ring. Unfortunately, the ring has broken off at some point. Now, I don't know how long this car's been sitting for, but I would think quite a long time. But I think the vinyl would be savable on the doors and down on the kick panels and stuff. If I choose to go that way, I may try to save it. I don't think that would be totally out of the question. The back seat, actually in really good shape. Just dirty. And there's that door molding right here. And then this stuff, we got some kind of weather stripping there. This stuff actually is part of a roof rack that came with the car, so I may stick that on. That would be kind of cool, I think. Paint's a little rough in the back. This panel has been removed. I believe that's what's left of it laying there. So I have a feeling there may have been a problem with this window motor, and they had this panel popped off, and we're trying to do something to get it to work. And there's some more of the roof rack stuff. Up here, unfortunately, where that roof had rotted through, it's now rotting through this this panel on the inside, but can be saved. Headliner is not so great, and it just keeps getting worse as you get closer to the front of the car there. Not a big deal to me. One thing I find a little strange is somebody at some point had spray painted, I think, all the glass black. So that's going to be fun to get off. But you can kind of see the light shining through. Somebody just painted this stuff for whatever reason. My theory is this car maybe was parked in front of a business, just sort of as a decoration or to draw people in. I have no way of confirming that. Just a theory. Interestingly enough, there's a website called barnfinds.com, I believe, where I was able to find an article published on this car from 2018, I believe, and they just kind of gave a brief overview of the car. And at the time, I guess it was going up on eBay for right around $5,900, I think, which I paid significantly less for this car than that. So getting a good deal is always nice. I do like the red paint on these wheels. I think that's kind of neat. And something else kind of fun is this. Yeah, these aren't real white walls. These are like a faux white wall. You could have gotten these out of like a J.C. Whitney catalog or something like that back in the day. 3 out of 4 tires hold air. This one here goes flat in about a week or so. So it's got 2 old bias plies on the back and 2 newer radials on the front. They actually might be brand new. But these faux white walls definitely don't help with sealing around the bead. Kind of neat, kind of cheesy. They're going to come off. But I like the idea of running wide whites on the car. Pretty neat. There's the hood ornament there. Back away so you can look at the front end. There's that old Texas license plate. So the car is rough, but not too rough. You know, personally, I love the patina. I plan on preserving it the way that it is. The plan for now is to get this 6-cylinder running, fix the brakes, obviously, and check the transmission, clutch, all that stuff. And then just drive it, at least for a while. I think these are super cool, especially the fact that essentially even into the 70s and 80s, they were still producing a car with a 1950s design. Small things change: bumpers, interior, tail light arrangements, side marker lights, small stuff like that, but virtually unchanged from 61 to 82. And these replaced the Superba model, which was very similar, a little bit different up front end. They did have single headlights at one point. They went over to duals. Grille was a little different. Front fenders were slightly different. But yeah. Now the long-term plan is to make this sort of like a cruiser, something that can be taken on long trips. I plan on going all over the place with this and camping in it. Being a wagon, that would be nice. And let me show you what we got here for a motor. So I got this as part of an estate sale from a former car club member that I'm a part of. Unfortunately, he was killed in an accident at home, and his wife really just wanted to get everything out of there. So this is an Oldsmobile 330. I believe 64 to 66 when I looked the casting numbers up. So decent motor. I am an Oldsmobile fan. I do like their engines. I think they're very durable and a little underrated. And then it's got a 2-speed transmission on it right now, which I don't plan on using. I'm going to run most likely turbo 350, turbo 400, something like that. And this should give that checker plenty of power to get up hills and just be kind of a fun car to cruise around long distances with. And I may as well show you this too. So this one isn't mine. This is actually a friend of mine's, part of that same estate. This is a 455 Oldsmobile. I think it's like a 68 to 70 455. Definitely neat. It's got a older Edelbrock Torker manifold on it and a HEI conversion, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely stoked on the idea of doing this motor swap, but I do want to just get the car out and enjoy it. And then since we're in here, I will give you an update on the old swept-line Dodge here, my 1970 D200 I've been working on. Big improvement on wheels and tires. This used to have just a mismatched set of old split rims on it with, you know, severely dry rotted tires and everything. So I actually picked these guys up off of Amazon. They are Lexani Terrain Beast ATs. I think they were right around $95 a tire, something like that. So we'll see how they do. I just didn't want to drop $200-300 a tire on something that you know, is not going to be a daily driver. And then these wheels are actually Ford 8-lug wheels. And like I said, this had split rims on it. They're dangerous, they're mismatched, and I just didn't want to deal with them. But scored these on Facebook Marketplace, $100 for 6 of them. They were in really good shape. Basically all I had to do was scuff them down and repaint them. So, also got these mirrors. They came off Amazon as well. They're okay. I've heard people say that they rust really easily. We'll see. I mean, being in the desert here, I'm not too concerned about it, but I'm sure the truck will get wet. So we'll see. We'll see how they hold up. But kind of a period correct West Coast style mirror for it. And unfortunately the ones that were on the truck were mismatched. So I kind of wanted to just get a nice matching pair. On the interior here, so I've got the glove box and the heater control and everything pulled out to install this dash pad that I got through a friend. It's in pretty dang good shape overall. I mean, this corner is a little, you know, it could be better, but it doesn't really bother me too much. I got this earlier swept line steering wheel from the same buddy, along with the bezel for the gauges, because that was just destroyed. For any of you guys that have watched my previous videos on the truck, you probably would remember that. So I personally really like this earlier swept line steering wheel. Like the horn ring, I like the white. I kind of like that it's got some age to it. I think it matches the rest of the truck. You know, obviously you can see this is far from perfect, but that's fine. It's a driver, and that's what I wanted. The grill that came with the truck was also pretty busted up, so I went on eBay and found a grill off a 68 to 69 truck. So I think it's a little, I don't know, just a little more appealing than the 70 and 71 grills are, and hey, it's what I could find. And I think it's got a pretty cool patina to it. Now, when I originally bought this grill, it was primered, and it looked pretty clean in the ads. And when it finally got shipped out here, and I opened it up, man, I was disappointed. It was all pitted. It just didn't look good. So I started sanding it and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and all of this white paint was still under there. So I spent probably way too much time stripping all the primer off and exposing all this original white paint with the patina. You know, sanded through a couple of spots and tried to blend it in a little bit. But I think it's pretty neat. I've had it on the truck. It fits just fine. Got new turn signal lights for it. And then I do have a front bumper for it. When I got in the truck, there was no front bumper. So that's it over here. Obviously, it's the inside of the bumper here. I'll turn it around. Pretty decent. It was a little bent up, so I did straighten it out a bit using a press with a friend, so that was kind of fun. It definitely looks a lot better than it did, but like everything else, it's not perfect. But again, doesn't really bother me. But this truck is really close to getting on the road now. I do have a rear wheel cylinder that's been blown out. It will need a new master cylinder, and the shifter shaft seal on the transmission decided to start leaking pretty severely, so I'll have to address that. But it's come a long way, I think. And then as a little added bonus, I'll show you guys the nicest car in the fleet. So this is my 56 Plymouth Belvedere. Kind of done in the style of a mild custom from the 60s. It's got this flat black, satin black paint on it, along with some pretty heavy flake on the roof and down here on the sides. Around the back as well. So, in my opinion, these are just super neat cars. They're part of Chrysler's forward look era. Which can be polarizing. I think some people really like them. Some people think they're kind of ugly. These are the earlier ones. 55 was the first year forward look design. So the 55 Plymouth would have looked very similar. The tail fins really are kind of the main difference between the 55 and 56 cars. 56 was the first year for these really sort of pronounced tail fins. Still has the original wheel and all the original gauges in it. Original radio. It was reupholstered. It's a pretty clean car. It's a 277 polyhead V8 with the push-button 2-speed Powerflight tranny. So instead of having a shifter, you've got these buttons here. And you can see here, new Powerflight. So this is the first year for push-button transmissions with Chrysler, and they ran all the way up until the early or mid-60s. Kind of a weird thing with these is there's no parking pawl, so you just set it in neutral and set the handbrake like you would a stick-shift car. And another neat fact is I believe these can actually be push-started like a standard transmission. And you can see the flake is on the wheel as well, which is pretty neat. Unfortunately, this one's got a broken horn ring too. At least the bonnet is still there, but I guess these steering wheels are pretty known for breaking off at the top like that. It's hard to find a nice intact one, but not impossible. And this car actually just got back from California. A couple friends of mine and myself went to Ventura Nationals over Labor Day weekend and took this out on the trailer. And we had a really good time. It was an awesome show. I highly recommend if you're in California or Nevada, Arizona, you know, or anywhere really, if you want to do a long trip, it's worth going to. And I actually got this pinstriped while we were there. So I think the guy did a really neat design on it, did a good job with it. It was kind of cool to get it pinstriped at the show, you know, and got a bunch of people coming over and looking and watching the guy. I really admire pinstripers. I think it's definitely an art, and you definitely need a steady hand. I'd love to try it out one day. But at any rate, just kind of wanted to give you guys an update of what's going on with the fleet here right now. And with the weather slowly getting nicer, we'll be getting back to work. I'll be getting that checker in, hopefully in the next day or two. and we'll start looking through that, and I'll bring you guys along for a more in-depth look at what we got going on with that car once it's inside. But definitely looking forward to this project. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so thanks guys for tuning in. And if you like this kind of stuff, you can leave me a like or a comment or subscribe if you really enjoy it. And we'll be getting back with you very soon. Take care.
Will you put these in Danny's work box because it has that pedal car's phone number on it? I'm giving you those flyers that have all the numbers on it because it has that pedal car on it. That still wants to get you with you. No?
Then I can take a shower before I do a car.
Without multitasking at its finest.